The death warrant for the US dollar was not signed in a public ceremony. It was not broadcast on the nightly news. It was executed in silence behind the closed doors of a server room in Shanghai. The moment we have been warning you about for years has finally arrived. The global financial architecture just snapped. While the Western media distracts you with political theater and stock market bubbles, the BRICS alliance has quietly detonated a financial nuclear weapon that effectively ends the 80-year reign of the American empire. The Bifurcation Event is here. The world you woke up in this morning is not the same world you went to sleep in. The rules of the game have changed forever. To understand the gravity of this collapse, you must look past the propaganda and look at the plumbing of the global financial system. For decades, the United States held a monopoly on the world's money through a system called SWIFT. If you wanted to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, you had to use dollars. If you wanted to buy electronics from China, you had to use dollars. This system gave America an exorbitant privilege. It allowed the Federal Reserve to print trillions of dollars out of thin air and export the resulting inflation to the rest of the world. We got the goods, you got the inflation. It was the greatest con in the history of economics. But as of late 2025, that con is officially over. The monopoly is broken. The catalyst for this shift is a platform that the mainstream media refuses to cover. It is called BRICS Pay. This is not just a new credit card or a digital wallet. It is a sovereign stack of financial technology that bypasses the Western banking system entirely. It acts as a bridge between the central bank digital currencies of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This means that for the first time since 1944, a Brazilian importer can buy fertilizer from Russia without ever touching a single US dollar. The transaction happens instantly. It happens cheaply. And most importantly, it happens without the permission of the US Treasury. The dollar has been deleted from the loop. This is not a theory. This is happening right now in real time. The volume of trade bypassing the dollar is exploding. We are witnessing the functional death of the petrodollar. For 50 years, the agreement was simple. The US provides security for the Saudi royal family, and in exchange, Saudi Arabia prices all its oil in dollars. That deal is dead. Saudi Arabia has joined the mBridge project, a digital payment rail controlled by China, and the Bank for International Settlements has walked away from it in fear. They know they have lost control. The Saudis are now accepting UN for oil. They are accepting digital currency for oil. The energy market is decoupling from the dollar, and with it goes the demand for American debt. This brings us to the terrifying reality of the fiscal doom loop. The only reason the US government has not collapsed under the weight of its $36 trillion debt is because foreign nations were forced to buy US Treasury bonds to facilitate trade. They needed dollars to buy oil, so they parked their savings in US debt. But now that they can trade in their own currencies, they have stopped buying our debt. In fact, they are selling it. The data from the IMF is screaming a warning that no one wants to hear. The share of global reserves held in dollars has crashed to 56%. This is a slow-motion run on the bank. Every percent drop represents over $100 billion exiting the American system. The consequences of this are mathematical and inevitable. Without foreign buyers for our debt, the Federal Reserve is forced to become the buyer of last resort. They have to print money to buy the government bonds that no one else wants. This is the definition of a banana republic. We are already seeing the early stages of this crisis in the bond market. Interest payments on the federal debt have now surpassed defense spending. Let that sink in. We are spending more money just to pay the interest on our credit card than we spend on the entire US military. We are borrowing money to pay the interest on the money we borrowed. It is a Ponzi scheme of epic proportions, and the BRICS nations just pulled the plug. While the West is drowning in debt, the East is accumulating the only asset that has no counterparty risk: gold. The price of gold has smashed through the $4,000 level, and it is not stopping. This is not a bubble. This is a repricing of the global collateral base. The People's Bank of China has been buying gold hand over fist for 18 consecutive months. They are dumping paper dollars and buying physical metal. They are marking their assets to market. They are preparing for a world where commodities are backed by gold, not by empty promises from Washington. The rise of gold to $4,000 is the market's way of saying that the dollar is failing. It is a vote of no confidence in the US government. The bifurcation is creating two separate financial worlds. On one side, you have the West. This is Zone A. It is the zone of high inflation, high debt, and strict capital controls. It is a walled garden where your money is surveilled and your purchasing power is slowly stolen by the printing press. On the other side, you have the BRICS bloc. This is Zone B. It is the zone of commodities, gold, and sovereign production. It is a zone where trade is settled in assets that actually have value. The West is trying to fight back with something called Project Agora, a desperate attempt to digitize the dollar and lock you into a programmable financial prison. But it is too little too late. The trust is gone. You need to understand what this means for you personally. The era of cheap imports is over. The era of the strong dollar is over. As the demand for dollars collapses, the value of the currency in your pocket will plummet. We are looking at a future of structural inflation that will make the 1970s look like a picnic. The cost of energy will skyrocket. The cost of food will skyrocket. Everything you buy that is imported from the BRICS nations will cost double or triple what it costs today. This is not just an economic shift. It is a standard of living collapse. The subsidy that the rest of the world provided to the American consumer has been revoked. The media will try to spin this. They will tell you that the dollar is strong. They will tell you that the stock market is at all-time highs. Do not believe them. The stock market is only going up because the dollar is going down. It is the Weimar Republic dynamic. In Venezuela, the stock market went up millions of percent while the people starved in the streets. We are entering that same cycle. The nominal price of assets will rise, but the real value of your labor is being vaporized. The elites know this. That is why they are buying farmland. That is why they are buying gold. That is why they are building bunkers. They are preparing for the end of the fiat experiment. The most dangerous part of this transition is the reaction of the dying empire. History tells us that when a hegemonic power loses its economic dominance, it lashes out. We are seeing the weaponization of the financial system. The West is trying to sanction the entire world, but it is backfiring. Every sanction we impose just accelerates the adoption of BRICS Pay. We are pushing our enemies into a lifeboat that they built themselves. The mBridge system is now a dark pool for sovereign settlements. It is immune to the U.S. Treasury. We have lost our leverage. We have lost our stick, and we have no carrots left to offer. The silence from the mainstream financial press is deafening. Bloomberg is talking about AI stocks. CNBC is talking about interest rate cuts. No one is talking about the fact that the plumbing of the global economy has been ripped out and replaced. They are keeping you in the dark because they need you to stay in the dollar system. They need you to hold the bag. If you knew the truth, you would be dumping your dollars and buying gold and silver just like the central banks are doing. They are front-running the exit while telling you to stay seated in the burning theater. The shift to a multipolar currency regime is the most significant event of your lifetime. It changes everything. It changes how you save. It changes how you invest. It changes how you plan for the future. The 60-40 portfolio is dead. Bonds are certificates of confiscation. If you are holding U.S. Treasuries, you are holding a burning match. The only safety is in hard assets. The only safety is in things that cannot be printed. The BRICS nations understand this. That is why they are hoarding resources. They are hoarding oil, copper, wheat, and gold. They are building a fortress of real assets to withstand the coming storm. We are watching the liquidation of Western hegemony. It is happening slowly, and then it will happen all at once. The slow bleed of the dollar's share in reserves is the fuse. The explosion will be a sudden loss of confidence that sends the dollar into a tailspin. When that happens, the shelves will empty. The supply chains will break. The just-in-time delivery system will freeze. You will see panic in the streets, not because of a virus, but because of a currency crisis. The dollar is the linchpin of the global order, and that linchpin has been pulled. The rise of the East is not just about economics, it is about power. The side with the manufacturing base always wins. The side with the energy resources always wins. The West has financialized everything. We have an economy based on services apps and financial engineering. The East has an economy based on making things and digging things out of the ground. In a conflict between paper and physics, physics always wins. The BRICS alliance has cornered the market on reality while the West is still trading in fantasy. You have a choice to make. You can continue to believe the lies of the establishment. You can continue to hold your wealth in a currency that is mathematically guaranteed to lose value. Or you can wake up to the reality of the bifurcation. You can position yourself on the right side of history. This means getting out of debt. This means owning physical gold and silver. This means becoming independent of the fragile system that is crumbling around you. The window of opportunity is closing. The capital controls are coming. Soon it will be illegal to move your money out of the dollar. They will trap you in the system to pay for their mistakes. The launch of BRICS Pay was the crossing of the Rubicon. There is no going back. The bridges have been burned. The world has split into two. You're either in the zone of the rising sun or the zone of the setting sun. The American century is over. The Eurasian century has begun. Do not let nostalgia blind you to the cold, hard data. The numbers do not lie. The debt is unpayable. The alliances have shifted. The game is over. The dollar has lost. The only question left is, what will you do about it? This is not fear-mongering. This is a forensic analysis of the crime scene. The murder weapon is the printing press. The victim is the middle class. The perpetrators are the central bankers who sold out your future for their own power. But the BRICS nations have called their bluff. They have flipped the table. They have built a new casino where the house does not always win. And the entire world is lining up to play there. The line to join the BRICS alliance is getting longer every day. Nations are tired of being bullied. They are tired of being sanctioned. They are voting with their wallets, and they are voting against the dollar. The next 12 months will be critical. Watch the Saudi peg. If the real depegs from the dollar, it is game over. Watch the gold repatriation. If nations start demanding their gold back from New York and London, it is game over. Watch the bond yields. If the 10-year yield spikes despite the Fed cutting rates, it means the bond vigilantes have returned and it is game over. The signs are everywhere if you know where to look. The system is flashing red. The alarms are ringing. But the pilot is asleep at the wheel and the passengers are cheering for the crash. Do not be a passenger. Be a pilot of your own destiny. Take control of your financial sovereignty. The government cannot save you. The Fed cannot save you. JP Morgan cannot save you. Only you can save you. The bifurcation event is the greatest wealth transfer in history. Wealth is not being destroyed, it is being transferred. It is moving from the unprepared to the prepared. It is moving from paper to metal. It is moving from west to east. Ensure you are on the receiving end of this transfer. The script has been written. The actors are on stage. The curtain has risen on the final act of the dollar drama. It will be a tragedy for the masses, but it can be a triumph for the few who see it coming. The BRICS win is not a possibility, it is a reality. The dollar default is not a theory, it is a mathematical certainty. The only variable is time, and time is running out. Tick-tock. The clock is striking midnight for the American empire. Are you ready for what comes next?